Folks, welcome back to the Wanneroo channel. Today we have what amounts to a very unexpected review on a gun. Didn't expect to be doing it. It wasn't even on my purchase list. I have like kind of a list of different rifles and pistols that I'd like to purchase at some point, and kind of my wish list, so to speak. This was not on it at all. But the thing is, I am a sucker for stuff out of Switzerland. I traveled to Switzerland in the 1990s and ended up loving it, and it's a great country to visit. Look forward to going back again and spending some time there, and if we do, we're going to put it on YouTube, so we'll do some good videos over there when we go. But this surplus pistol came up out of Switzerland from the Polizei in Thurgau, and when I saw it, I don't know. I'm not much one of those shoppers that runs out and just buys, at the snap of a finger. I usually think things through, but when I saw this, I was like, I got to get it. So, what do we have here today? Well, we have an H&K P30. This is a V4. It's also the Swiss police version, so the trigger is supposedly a little bit better than the regular V4, so I guess there's a little bit of a reduction in the pre-travel or something like that. So this is also one of those deals where it's kind of similar to a Sig Sauer DAC system, I believe. It's basically a double action hammer-fired pistol, so there's no double action, single action. Myself personally, I like double action, single action. No big deal for me. A lot of folks don't like it. But anyways, this is pretty much set up for the police in a sense. So they have a consistent trigger pull every time. And I'll show you the markings here. Hopefully those come out on the camera. Oh, yeah. Right there. So you got the Thurgau, Canton, right there on the pistol. So if you're the Polizei officer that used to have this, you can get in touch with me and let me know. Thurgau is, it's a canton up in northeast Switzerland. I've actually traveled kind of all the way around it, but I've not actually been in the canton. So we'll have to rectify that at some point and visit that canton there. I think they have a beautiful lake and some other stuff. So anyways, saw this and I was like, got to get it, because I'm sure the numbers are limited because there's only so many folks that live there, and hence only so many Polizei. So it's a thing of where, well, probably there's only a couple hundred and they'll sell out pretty fast. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to do some shooting with it, and we'll see how it shoots and see what my impressions are of it. And then also too, we're going to disassemble it. I'm going to show it to you what it looks like, and also all the stuff that came with it, which is kind of interesting, things I didn't expect. So let's do that. So folks, we'll take a look at it disassembled, and this is the one thing that I love about the Swiss if you visit there. And maybe there's the exception to the rule, but when you travel around Switzerland, one of the things that you notice is that, and you see this with a lot of their firearms that come out of the country, like I have a K31 from 1936, and it's been used, but it's been well taken care of, and it's a beautiful rifle. And the thing is the stuff that they do have, they take care of. You don't see trash everywhere in their yards and junk piled up and stuff like that, and their cars are clean and their houses are clean and everything, and they take care of the stuff that they have. And that's one thing that's evident with this firearm here. It's been shot, but you look in here and I was like, wow, somebody cleaned that real nice and took care of it. So there's some wear there, obviously, from being used, and that's to be expected, but they didn't mess around. I mean, they cleaned this thing real good. And you'll see this with a lot of their rifles. If y'all don't have any of the Swiss rifles that came in here throughout the years as surplus, all of their straight pull bolt action rifles, sometimes I've heard of people getting one that's maybe a little bit grody, but most of the time they're very well taken care of and very clean and looked after. And yeah, you can just see that with this, that whoever had this, they looked after it, they took care of it. Again, there's holster wear, there's wear from shooting it, but it's been well taken care of. Same thing here with the grip frame as well. Clearly, it's been shot, but again, it's very well taken care of. I've seen plenty of grip frames before that are just loaded with gunk that nobody has ever bothered to clean, and this thing is just as squeaky clean as it can be for a used firearm. And the P30, if you're not used to it, it's a little bit weird in terms of disassembly. The first time I did it was a little bit goofy, but pretty much what you have to do is with this little nubbin right here, you have to push, well, basically you have to rack the gun back and then bring it forward slightly, and then you'll see on the slide this little cutout here that lines up with the lever. And so you have to push this button all the way out until it turns red right there, and then you can just remove the slide. So it sounds more complicated than it is. Like I said, the first time I did it, it was a little bit kind of cumbersome, and then, you know, once you do it second, third time, it's pretty easy. So my understanding is too, I've never shot a VP9. I've always wanted one, but I think the VP9 is basically kind of a cousin to this, except it's striker fired. It shares magazines with one another, which is cool. So if I get a VP9, I can use the same mag. So that's very nice. But pretty much just your hammered fired. You can see everything there. So the barrel here, squeaky clean on the barrel. I don't know how well that comes out on camera, but super nice. It looks like pretty much any time that they shot it, they cleaned it, which is typical in Switzerland. That's kind of the standard protocol there. Every time they shoot it, they pretty much clean the barrel. And then we also have our recoil spring here with a buffer on it. So this is all pretty new to me. So like I said, hadn't been planning on getting one of these, but now I got one. So let's take a look at what's in the box. Now the other thing that came with these is they came with the H&K case, which I thought was very nice of them to do. There's a lot of times where I've gotten surplus pistols in the past, and they come in a cardboard box, and maybe there's a magazine thrown in or whatever. Usually there's at least one magazine. So yeah, very nice case that came with it. And then also too, a couple of little things here. They did have a book for the Streamlight in here, which you know, it didn't come with the Streamlight, but the instructions are still in there. And then there's an instruction manual in German, so that's cool. So as I learn my German, I can, you know, bone up on that there. And then also came with the target, which I think is pretty standard for H&Ks. They come with the target from the factory and what they were shot with. The Ruag ammo, which we can get here in this country. It's under the Norma brand right now. It used to be under the Gecko brand. But here's how the accuracy came out. So it says 15 meters. And so that's the accuracy out of the factory. So, you know, I'd say that's pretty decent. That group there is, I'd say, maybe just over an inch or so. But, yeah, Heckler & Koch. Cool. And then it only came with one magazine. And it looks like it just says 15 rounds. So I'm expecting a 15 round capacity with this. Made in Germany. So in the magazine, you can tell the pistol's been shot a fair bit. The magazine's been in and out quite a few times. So it's been used, no doubt about it. All right, so let's go do some more shooting with this. Now, folks, I dug through my ammo stash real quick, and so we're going to pair it up with Made in Switzerland. I only have 10 rounds of this right now on hand. I just happen to have it by accident in the back of my vehicle here. But I actually still have a bit of a stash of this stuff, which is some of the best 9mm I've ever shot. And it can be found today under the Norma brand. However, I think they changed up the brass, and it's difficult to reload, I guess, with the primer flash hole or something. So just be aware of that. This old stuff is great, and the brass is great for reloading. So we'll shoot the 10 rounds of that. And then, this is very rare. This 9mm Polizei cellular and below. This came out of Austria, and it is a 100 grain bullet. So we'll be shooting that. We got still a fair bit of that in here. So maybe, I don't know how many rounds, 30 some rounds. It's a 100 grain bullet. And anyways, I think it's supposed to like fragment on impact, or I don't know, something. And it's got a primer that's got some primer sealant. Now, one thing I know from shooting a little bit of this in the past, I had a couple boxes, was that the brass is useless for reloading. The primer flash hole is too small. The primer flash hole is too small. So that's the thing with that. So just kind of be aware of that there. Okay folks, gun has been safety checked here. We're just going to do a check on the trigger pull here and see what we get in terms of the poundage. And no magazine, no ammunition around, chamber is clear. So let's go ahead and we'll do it twice and see what we get. Looks like just over 7 pounds, just under 7.5 pounds there. Oh, I'll reset it here. And again, just over 7 pounds there. Now, the other thing with this is, so once we pull our trigger there, gun cycles. So the one thing is it has kind of a funky reset at times. Like the reset feels, I don't know, kind of a little bit weird because sometimes it'll reset right here. And then you get a better trigger pull. And then other times, like here, it's cooperating. I don't know.
Yeah, it shoots so low.
So far, folks, this is the nicest, worst gun I've ever owned. Sadly, it's kind of like having a supermodel that's pretty useless at, well, you know. And it could be, you know, it is, at the end of the day, look, it's a surplus pistol. So, you know, who knows how it's been fiddled with in the past. The sights, they seem to have kind of a ramp on them at the back. So that could be part of it. You know, maybe we just need to look at some new sights for it. But it shoots way low. That's the biggest issue with it, is it shoots way low. Shooting a little bit of left, you know, we can work on that over time. I do believe there's a spring kit you can also get for the triggers for these to make the trigger nicer. The trigger pull is pretty stout on it, I would say. But, you know, I was looking through my sights and following through, and you know, where I was pretty much aiming, the rounds were not going. So, whatever the disconnect is there, it just ain't working. I couldn't take this to a match right now and shoot anywhere near kind of competitively with it. So, we started out up high and tried to put some rounds in on the zero, but they all came in down low down here, above the at the -1. Above the center zero there, and then we tried moving down a bit more for the center zero. those were off and all over the place. And then we went for the -1, and those were, you know, tracking way down there, even going off the paper and stuff. So the thing is shooting at 20 yards anywhere from about 6 to 12 inches low. Generally, I would say kind of, I don't know, let's go with 10 inches or so. It's pretty low. And then I went to the steel target and tried to shoot that. Pretty much what I had to do with that was bring my point of aim up higher to where, you know, I was kind of moving the pistol up pretty much to where I almost couldn't see where I wanted to hit. So in other words, I knew the lollipop was kind of there, but I was having to bring the pistol higher. So I was kind of having to lob the rounds in that way. So anyways, yeah, the accuracy, well, it sucks. All right, folks. So I had to sit down in a chair for this one. We have such a lovely pistol here from Thurgau in Switzerland, and this is the nicest, worst pistol I've ever owned. Now, here's the thing, because I know the H&K guys, if you say anything negative about H&K, I've seen it on the forums. You know who I'm talking about. If you say anything that sounds negative or anything, they're going to be firing up their keyboards and getting all worked up. And here's the thing. The one thing with this pistol that we don't know is anytime you get surplus, you know, you're taking kind of a gamble on it. You don't really know at the end. It's not like getting a new firearm, you know, with the factory warranty and factory service and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of kind of variables out there you might not know. And for one thing with this, I have to say is, and I have safety checked the firearm here, but I'm just dry firing it down range right now, and it's got a pretty stout trigger. Almost. There we go. Okay. What I'll do when I get back down to base, I forgot to bring my trigger pull gauge. Let's put the trigger pull gauge on this and see what we have for the weight on the trigger pull, and I'm just curious to see because it seems pretty kind of stout. So that could be a contributing factor. However, whenever I was shooting, I was kind of looking through the sights to the target and following through, and felt like I should have been bang on where I was aiming at. So, don't know. The other thing, too, is maybe the rear sight here has been diddled with a bit, or there's a non-factory rear sight on it. That could be part of it. I don't know. But here's the thing, guys, is that anytime when you get surplus, you don't know what you're getting into. So this could be a thing where right now as it stands, I can't shoot it at a match. It's just totally non-competitive, and it's just not going to work. So this is going to be a deal where we're going to have to look into this, and probably I'll have to take it to a gunsmith and have them look at the sights and see what they think, and let them try it out. I know someone who's pretty good with that, so we can have him look at it. And then the other thing too, perhaps, is to look into a spring kit or something for the trigger. The trigger pull just seems, you know, pretty stout, and for especially if you're trying to shoot in matches and stuff, I don't think you need a trigger with that heavy of a pull. At least I don't. So those are all things that can be worked on. So it's nothing really to kind of freak out about at the end of the day. When you get these things, all those variables, you don't know. And a lot of times you just have to take firearms and just work through them as a project and figure out what the problems are and solve them. And so that's what I've done with a lot of my projects. A lot of times things might not work out the first time. You find solutions and you make it better. So I don't think anything imminently is going to happen with this because I have too much on my plate for summer, and we need to be outside enjoying the weather and getting projects done. But this could be something for the fall and the winter where we can maybe work on this and do a couple tweaks and maybe bring this to a point where it's a bit more competitive. So anyways, folks, appreciate you all tuning in. We got a lot of stuff here planned for the summer. Stay tuned. And we'll see y'all next time.